A very good evening, and thanks for clicking on to the pretty late edition of Vogan's European Outlook for Wednesday, the 8th of March. Lots of weather to speak about across the board at the moment, so I'll get right to it. Minus 15.2 Celsius recorded at Cape Kinbrace in Sutherland last night. That is not only the coldest temperature of the 2023 year so far, but it in fact is the coldest March reading anywhere in the UK since, believe it or not, 2010. Even March 2013, as cold as it was, the coldest since 1962. Temperatures didn't get below, I believe, minus 12 Celsius. So, yeah, very, very impressive cold now has set in across the north. And believe it or not, we could be approaching temperatures even colder tonight. Now, this is the pressure chart here, and we do have an interesting area of low pressure approaching the mouth of the Bristol Channel. We'll look at the wintry mess that we're seeing at the moment in just a second here, but further north with higher pressure and also a nice space in the isobars, very drier, colder, and light winds with clear skies. Perfect recipe for maximum radiational cooling. And to top it all off, we've got snow on the ground that maximizes the atmosphere's ability to reflect heat that has came in during the course of today back out to space. And as of recording, the temperature is sitting on minus 11.4 Celsius at Altmahara. So we're not that far off the coldest temperature recorded last night. I think, is it possible, if we have the right conditions maintaining itself for the majority of the overnight period, I would not be surprised if we're knocking the door of minus 20 in Kinbrace by dawn tomorrow morning. But it has to be that the conditions set up just perfectly and maintain that through the overnight period. But certainly it is a very, very cold night indeed across the northern half of the British Isles, and we may well surpass the coldest temperature recorded back in December, which of course was minus 17.2 or minus 17.3, I can't remember exactly, recorded Braemar back during the cold spell in December here. So, looking at the wintry mess that we have got at the moment, area of low pressure, we've seen one system riding across the southern flank of the UK. During the early portion of today, we did see snow into the capital, London, and there was a reasonable significant amount of snow actually measured in some higher parts of the far south earlier this morning. During the overnight last night and into the early hours of this morning, we've seen some significant snow. Now we've got the second feature moving in, and it looks as if we've got a fairly widespread area of snow. This is off the Weather Underground website. You can see here that if we play through the loop, there is it going to let me play it? In fact, just bear with me just a wee second here. Just so many things to cover at the moment. It's pretty amazing. No, it's not going to let me. It's just a frozen frame, unfortunately. But you get the overall idea. What we've got is we've got a fairly messy picture through the overnight tonight. This area of low pressure will continue to develop, slide east. There is going to be a little bit of milder air rotating around that centre, so getting pulled in off the Atlantic and around that area of low pressure. So we are going to see a mix of rain and sleet down at low levels along the coastline, for example. But inland, we're more likely to see sleet and snow, and certainly with any elevation up through the Midlands and into the northern portion of England, say from Birmingham, Manchester, up towards Leeds. The Met Office actually has an amber warning tonight for the spine of the North Pennines, as we could see as much as 40 centimetres of snow over the highest parts. So Sheffield, Leeds, Wakefield, Huddersfield, areas within that kind of M62 corridor, and all Trans-Pennine routes anywhere from the M62 all the way to the 66 could have significant disruption due to snow during the overnight period tonight. So you can see here that the model of the GFS has that snow continuing to fall, and then we've got that next system. Now, this is the important one. This is the next system. It is going to bring in milder air, but of course, it's bumping in to that anchored cold air in place, and we could see some very troublesome snow stretching from, say, just north of Birmingham all the way up towards the A66 corridor here. So certainly Trans-Pennine routes is going to have some very, very tricky travel conditions indeed. Further north, up towards the Scottish border, into southern and central Scotland, it looks as if we may see kind of flurries and maybe snow in the air, but I don't think we're going to see a particularly significant amount of snow. If we have a look at Scotland itself, Northern Ireland, by the way, could see some fairly significant snow out of this later in the day tomorrow. But let's get back to the correct time frame. You can see here that the shield of moisture, and the majority of it being in the form of snow, is lifting north. Now, the latest run in the GFS indicates that we could have some significant snow. For example, anywhere from Newry, Armagh, up to Belfast. So Northern Ireland specifically, we could see some significant amounts of snow. Also across parts of Ireland as well. Let's not forget the folks here. Dublin, for example, and all the way down towards Cork, especially away from the coastal areas and low-level areas, we could see some very significant amounts of snowfall over higher areas. Now, notice here that the latest run of the GFS indicates that the majority of that snow stays largely south of the England-Scotland border. So, largely high and dry, sunny skies, cold sunshine at that, across the majority of Scotland here. And I think, tonight, like I said, minus 18, minus 20, not out of the realm of possibility, I think, across the high glens, especially where you've got lying snow as well. We've got the perfect recipe for maximum cooling tonight. So I think colder tonight compared to last night. And of course, it was the coldest March night for the UK in 13 years, which is pretty impressive stuff, actually, when you think about that. Now, as we continue to play through the loop here, what we're going to see is we're going to have, as that area of low pressure exits to the east, we're going to have more in the way of northerly winds coming back down again. So we're going to introduce snow showers across the northern portion of Scotland again. And we're also going to have the continuation of some very chilly nights indeed. This is Saturday morning. Little area of high pressure develops like we seen last night. One thing I want to say is even last night, the temperatures hovered, at modestly cold levels, but it's actually as the pressure was building during the overnight period, the pressure rising allowed the winds to fall completely light. We had a little bit of a breeze blowing through the majority of the last night, but it was actually towards dawn and towards the period when daylight was starting to break once again, and that is as early as the back of 5 in the morning. The actual conditions in the atmosphere became primed, and the temperature therefore was allowed to go from minus 10, minus 11, right the way down to minus 14. I believe Loch Lascarnock, Altnahara both dropped below minus 14 this morning, and Kinbrace minus 15.4 Celsius was recorded. So once that wind dropped off completely, we've seen the dew point continuing to drop, and the temperatures responded to that. Tonight we've got the perfect ingredients set up right away. So a cold day, but also little in the way of wind, and we've got the right atmospheric situation that we could see temperatures, and we are seeing temperatures dropping quicker than what we did last night. So yeah, very, very impressive stuff, very interesting stuff as well. Let's look at the British Isles overview chart here, and we'll quickly run through the next few days here, but certainly continue to have this wintry mix. So the snow is focused in the north of England, down towards the North Midlands. That is where the worst conditions are going to be. Not so much over Scotland as initially thought, southern and central Scotland. was expected to be in that heavy snow zone. Then, as we progress towards Saturday, we're going to see more potential significant snow, this time focusing over the northern half of the British Isles. But notice also the track in the low, it's further north. So, therefore, if we look at the 850 temperatures, we're in more of the milder air. So, it does look as if, despite the fact that we're going to see an increase in snow potential further north, i.e., Scotland, we're also going to see warmer air coming in on the back side of that, and therefore the temperatures are going to rise. Does that mean that we'll wave goodbye to the cold air? Not necessarily. This is the 850 temperatures by Tuesday next week. We're back in to the -10 isotherm at 850 over the far north of Scotland, -9 extend through the central Highlands, for example, -8, all the way down to the north of England here. So it looks as if, according to the latest GFS run, the mild comes in, but it's replaced by more Arctic air. So here is the response of that major southern stratospheric warming, and it's coinciding very nicely indeed with what was expected. Let's see how cold it gets tonight, and we'll talk about it in tomorrow's video. Stay tuned. Please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already done so, and hit the bell for the notification of each upload. Plenty going on. Certainly hope you stay safe over the next few days. Plenty of snow to speak about, plenty of cold to speak about. We're back in the grips of winter, folks. So stay tuned. And thanks for watching. Bye for now.